It's now time for
Check, please.
Coming up next on the D1 and Done Pod.
Welcome back into another episode of Check Please, as we have a midweek checkup of your college hoops. Robbie Donahoe, Dusty Mills, Nick Mills, all dialed in. Now, we did do a pod on Tuesday, so we're checking back in on Thursday. Only 2 days things have happened, but a lot of things have happened. There is quite a bit that's transpired. We're not going to even mention what happened in Spokane, Washington, between Gonzaga and Oregon State. That game did not exist. It was not real. We are going to talk a little Kentucky. We're going to talk a little bit about the Big Ten. We're going to talk a little bit about what is going to be happening on Saturday, and I'm curious to get some thoughts of a couple of Wildcats that are alongside me for that game. But let's start first, Nick. I want to start with you. Start with a game that you want to recap or acknowledge from the past 2 days.
Yeah, I'm sure Dustin gets to the real game I want to talk about, but I think the one that kind of caught my eye was the one last night between Maryland and Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Maryland got the 76-68 win over the Badgers. I bring this game up because I think Maryland's been one of our fascinating teams in the country. I think we probably not talk about them too much on this pod, but a lot of I think they're kind of the same team every year, always a lot of talent. But they got the big one over Wisconsin, 76-68, all 5 starters in double digits. And since Maryland had a weird 2-3 stretch in early January, including losses at Northwestern, those nerds, at Washington, basically the purple teams.
Loss.
Bad losses, the purple teams all around. But since then, Robbie and Dusty, they've gotten 4 wins in a row. They beat Nebraska. They won at Illinois. They won at the Assembly Hall. I guess both Assembly Halls. Shout out Mike Woodson for his last play of the game. And then get the win over Wisconsin last night. So Maryland, all of a sudden things are looking up. They're an 8 seed, according to the Matrix, going into the game. And only have one ranked team left on schedule, which is Michigan State at home late February on the 26th. So they can really make up some ground here. Again, I love Derek Queen. I like Gillespie. I like pretty much our whole starting 5. Angel Reese's brother. Say his name, Julian Reese. Shout out. And I think Wisconsin's fine on the other end. They're fine. They have no bad losses. John Tonji was good again. But yeah, good win for Maryland. They're playing really good ball right now. So shout out to Terps.
This is the first time in a while where I can remember a Kevin Willard team could be a competent three-point shooting team. Like the past few years, they've been a good team, but this is the first year where they've got guards who can shoot threes. Like Rodney Rice is a dead-eye shooter. So is Jacoby Gillespie. Selton Miguel was just pulling up and just straight jacking from anywhere last night. He was burying them. Yeah, it was. I'm very impressed with Maryland. What's more shocking to me about them, and I don't know if you guys watched that IU game, Luke Goody was guarding Derek Queen almost exclusively the entire game. That is a massive height difference, and Maryland did not take advantage of it once. If Derek Queen's a top 10 pick, which some people claim he is, you cannot have a 6'4", 6'5" guard on him and not use him at all.
Which is so perfectly Maryland, because even when they're playing well, they find something that makes you frustrated. They do
something stupid. It's something
so
stupid.
Perfect.
Yeah. I mean, what's funny is, so Derek Queen has made 2 threes all year. He tried to shoot one against IU. It did not go well. Those 2 threes were the back-to-back threes he hit against Purdue. Those are the only threes he's made all year. I think he's 2 for 13 from 3 now, that's more hilarious. But I like Maryland. We said it.
They do.
We said it in December. Like, this is a really talented team. Their shooting and their scoring kind of scared me. They're not a really deep team. They go about 7, 8 deep, maybe 8. So those 5 that are on the floor that start for Kevin Willard, like, they are good. Like, they've got good guards, and they can switch 1 through 5 and play just about anyone. If they're an 8 seed, I would be deathly afraid to play them as if I'm the 1 seed in that region.
Agreed.
There is also
just don't lose to these lesser teams they have coming up.
Yeah,
that's always the biggest concern with
which
them.
Is very Maryland. That would be they would definitely lose those games. There has been a push amongst the media members in the Big Ten that John Blackwell should be considered to be Player of the Year in the Big Ten this year.
Ew.
John Blackwell. Now, he didn't play great against Maryland, but he's averaging 16 a game right now. And he's been putting up some numbers. Like, he put up 28 against USC, scored 23 against UCLA. Like, he's putting up numbers. But I don't even know if John Blackwell's the best player on his team. I thought that John Tanji, for me, is better. But I've been hearing the whispers. I've been seeing it on social media. He's at least first team All Big Ten, which I think that's a more debatable conversation. But player of the year in the Big Ten, I mean, I don't know if you are in West Lafayette, Indiana, why do you need to go anywhere else?
Yeah, I mean, is there someone else, Robbie, that you would think of that would be Big Ten player of the year?
I mean, I wouldn't take. I think are you genuinely asking me?
Just asking questions.
Okay.
I mean,
it sounded like that was a genuine question. Then Nick took it the other way and started to, flame on it. But,
do what on it?
I don't know.
You can cut that out.
Flame on. It's the thing that Chris Evans' character says in Fantastic Four. That's what I was meaning to say.
That was the right word.
Yeah. I mean, no one from Michigan State would. I mean, they're more of a team effort. Michigan, Danny Wolf was in there for a little while. No. Yakachonis from Illinois, I think, is the really only other guy you would consider in that group. There just hasn't been like a standout superstar player for a top-tier team. You could make the case for Ace Bailey, but Rutgers isn't very good right now. Ace put up 37 last night. And by the way, no assists. The man, play the hits, Ace. No assists. Jack up as many shots as you want. Let's get some points. And they didn't have Dylan Harper last night either. So that, I know it's not my game I'm going to talk about, but I was impressed that Rutgers won at Northwestern. That was a game they easily could have lost.
Yeah, they still have a lot of room to make up. But hey, you got to start somewhere at this point. They're still 11-10, but I'm with you, Robbie. Like,
got to start.
It seems like it's pretty Smith to lose at this point for the Big Ten Player of the Year.
Yeah,
maybe Derek Queen, maybe, but even that.
He's just Maryland's not using him enough. It just they are. It's almost like he's a complementary piece for what they have, and he's too talented to be that for them. I don't know. It's very odd how they're utilizing him. I just don't know if I fully agree with it. Dusty, your game. I have a feeling I know where you're going, but man,
you don't.
I don't. Okay. So you're not going Kentucky, Tennessee then?
I'm not. I'm going with George Mason as they continue to fall out in the A-10. Beat Loyola Chicago. Sister Jean only scored 17 points in the first half.
Wow.
Game went to overtime, but they are now 7-1 in the conference, and they were my lock last week. But yeah, I'll gladly talk about Kentucky, Tennessee.
I was gonna say, like, I figured that was the game you were picking.
No, we were texting about this. I thought you were gonna choose it, Dusty.
No, I thought I said to you, whoever Ball State lost to. I think it lost like Western Michigan.
Well, then I responded to you. You said, I got it.
All right,
whatever.
So
Who cares?
The question needs to be floated: is Kentucky better without a point guard when they? But is it just to Tennessee?
That was, I mean, Nick and I were watching the game together. It was so frustrating to watch Williamson on the court and basically just back up the entire time, but it worked.
Yeah.
See, I liked it. Because again, like you mentioned, so Purdue didn't see Lamont Butler, Andrew Carr out, down. Okay, Andrew Carr played 2 minutes. He was essentially out. Kentucky down 2 starters. They have a point guard in. It was clear Jackson and Ortega weren't liking the pressure a little bit. I liked Amari bring the ball up. Screw it. Let that big oaf guard up and down the court. And it was such an awesome win. What a great win for Kentucky. 4-1 in their last 5 at Tennessee. What a win for us, Crab.
So George Mason's now 7-1 in the A-10. But yes, it was a frustrating game to watch. But what a win at Tennessee too.
It's not even for Kentucky. It doesn't matter how pretty it looked. Just find a way to win. But I was shocked that with no true point guard that Travis Perry didn't play more. Or is that just Mark Pope saying, you're a freshman, I'm not putting you up against Zakai Ziegler, we're gonna play it as it is?
Well, Nick and I were talking about too when we were watching the game. We had the widest lineup in at one point. And
it was working.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
It was working.
We weren't George Washington, who's 4-4 in the A-10 right now.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah, but again, it was an awesome win. Kentucky. Amari Williams played his best game as a Kentucky player, I would say.
Yeah.
Tennessee, I don't know what to make of them at this point.
I think
they're fraudulent. Yeah. I'm going to say it. I love beating them so much. I'm trying to keep my bias low here, but I don't think they're very good. I think they're fraudulent.
Dusty?
So do I. And even when they were number 1 in the nation, I mean, it was like, are they really the best team in the country? Like, okay, I'm going to give you a random thing right now. Tennessee Tennessee Gonzaga right now. Who would you take right now if they play in the Sweet 16?
Right now? In the Sweet 16? I'd still,
Rick Barnes.
I'd still take Tennessee.
Okay,
say that again.
St. Mary's, Tennessee.
I'm taking Tennessee.
Okay.
I take Tennessee. Well, St. Mary's never gets there, so Tennessee.
Yeah.
George Mason, Tennessee.
Oh, I'm taking George Mason, obviously.
Yeah.
No. I'm taking. We said it on the pod on Tuesday, and this feels like a typical Rick Barnes Tennessee team that they're going to have to win rock fights. They cannot go up and down with teams. They cannot score. Zakai Ziegler, in no world, should be shooting 11 threes. It should not happen. Never. And he was a 1 for 11 from 3 in that game against Kentucky. That is atrocious. He shouldn't be shooting more than 3 to 4 threes a game, if that.
I know. For our listeners, Tennessee shot 45 threes, and I texted in our group chat that I thought Ziegler took all 45, and I was not really kidding. In a sense. So
I would assume that was just Rick Barnes' game plan. Let's shoot as many threes as we can. If we get the rebounds, go up with it. But they had 18 offensive rebounds, so that makes sense. But that did not feel like the right game plan to try to beat Kentucky. It should have been get to the basket, beat them off the bounce, because that's what everyone else has been able to do and be successful, and you chose to just jack up 45 threes. That does not make much sense.
Yeah, this game was crazy. Tennessee took 22 more shots than Kentucky. Kentucky gave up so many freaking offensive rebounds. It's not even a concern at this point. It's like a house that just has a giant hole in it. It's not even a concern. It's just what it is. There's no fixing it at this point. By the way, too, do you guys know Kentucky did not take a single – they took one shot in the last 5 minutes and 16 seconds of this game. That's how many turnovers and free throw attempts they took down the stretch and still won this game. Weird game. I love winning there so much. Kentucky, great win. Tennessee, 4-4 in the SEC with
4-4 in the SEC. Yeah. Things starting to come apart a little for Tennessee. And again, it's offensive. And I said in the last pod – Houston is an upgraded Tennessee. That's really what Houston has. They're both very defensive minded, but Houston has the guys that can go get baskets. Speaking of Houston, I wanted to acknowledge the fact that win at West Virginia was pretty dang impressive. And I think Houston is right now in position to play for a 1 seed if they continue to play this well. And no, they don't have a ton of great wins over the past 3-4 weeks, but, they are torching teams. They are just crushing them. That win at Kansas probably should have never happened, but still made it happen. You beat Utah by 34. You find a way to win at UCF. You beat West Virginia, Kansas State, TCU, BYU, Oklahoma State, all by double digits. But again, is Houston going to find a way to stub their toe in the Sweet 16 again? Because I feel like we do this every single year with them. Is they look great, they get in the tournament, they get a 1 seed, and then you lose to a 4 or 5 seed in the Sweet 16. It's like wash, rinse, and repeat with them. Is this the team that finally changes it around a little bit? I will say having LJ Cryer back really changes the makeup of this team going forward.
Yeah, maybe this is a better recipe for them. That the fact they kind of start off slow and getting hot later, rather than what they usually. Especially when they're back to American, they start off 17-0. Everyone's calling frauds early, so maybe this is a better recipe for them coming from the back of the pack a little bit.
They've got more scoring guards this year, I think. Milos Uzan can score. LJ Cryer can score. Emmanuel Sharp, when he needs to, can score. Joseph Tugler is a scoring guy. You can bring Malik Wilson off the bench. Terrence Arsenault, another guy who can do the same thing. It feels like they've got more capable offensive players this year, which is It gives me cause for optimism, but at the same time, I don't know if I can fully believe them yet. So
yeah, I agree. I've been a Kelvin Sampson guy for a while, but again, you keep pointing out they've had these crushing defeats every year in the tournament. Even weird stuff happening like the point guard last year. I can't believe him. Jamal Shedd get hurt.
Oh yeah, Shedd. Yeah.
You have stuff like that happen to him. So I'm really hoping this year. I shouldn't say breakthrough. They made a Final Four in 2021, but they lost by 1,000,000 points in the Final Four. But yeah. Yeah, I like the Cougs. They're dominating right now.
Yeah.
Like you said, they're not even messing around with most of these teams.
No, they're not. So I want to parlay another game, but also highlight a performance in the process. Josh Hubbard was insane last night against Alabama. That was Josh Hubbard at his absolute best, and what Mississippi State needs from him. They have got to find a way to close games out, man. Golly. Like, it's become a running joke with Mississippi State and Bulldog fans that there's going to be some guard on the other team that's just going to go off on him. A guy you weren't expecting, they're going to have a game of his life. Well, that was Chris Youngblood last night going for 23. He hadn't scored over 15, I think, all season long. So I feel for you, State fans, but man, that has to be encouraging that you found Josh Hubbard getting 38. You needed a little bit more out of everyone else. It's discouraging that you can't beat Alabama lately. That's been frustrating, but it's encouraging that you get that kind of a performance. And Keshawn Murphy has been awesome off the bench for this team. He is such a game changer. Mississippi State is a Sweet 16 team, and if they get the right matchup, this could be a Final Four team if everything kind of falls where they may. But I think Alabama, this is a big win for them, and they didn't really get their best again out of Mark Sears or LeBaron Filan. So I don't know what to make of this Alabama team. They're kind of all over the place right now.
Robbie, that's hilarious. This Chris Youngblood and Josh Hubbard were my standout performances.
Were they really? Oh gosh,
yeah, that's perfect. But the only note I had is, yeah, you're right. Youngblood by far a season high, and it feels like whenever Hubbard has these big games, they always find a way to lose.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense at all.
Did against Kentucky last year too.
Literally, and Murphy missing that layup at the end was just
boy,
hole breaking. Poor State fans. We love you, State fans. I love you. Me and Robbie love you, State fans.
We love you. I can include Dusty in that as well. But, yeah.
Noise, apparently, but here you go.
There's the cowbell that we can't hear that Zoom apparently has found a way to filter out for some reason. Dusty, your performance from the last few days you want to highlight?
Yeah, so Tajay Kelly for Charleston Southern, the Buccaneers, last night. I'm going to point out his last 5 games. These are points and rebounds. 22-16, 28-12, 19-6, 15-7, and then last night 25-17 in an upset of South Carolina Upstate. How does someone like this not get mentioned?
Good question.
So yeah, Tajay Kelly's my shout out for the weekend.
Nice.
I will tell you that his per versus Longwood is -0.1. But what's that mean? But yeah, Tajay Kelly, Charleston Southern, he gets my shout. The Buccaneers, good for them. But he's clearly balling out, and averaging 29-2 and shooting 49.7% from the field. So from Atlanta, good for you, Tajay.
Very nice. Should mention a few other scores we want to pass along. Don't be deceived by that scoreline. UConn was getting beat by DePaul in the second half. Like, that was
down 14, right?
Yeah. And that's a DePaul team that's just not very good. I think when we get to our March Madness special, this is UConn. This is prime losing the first round UConn. I feel it in my bones this year. It's what's going to happen. Remember, they either lose in the first round or they win it all in the last 10 years or whatever. So this feels like that. Ole Miss, Chris Beard got one on his former team, 72-69. Kind of had to sweat it out at the end there. Trey Johnson was great again for Texas. Sean Padula had a good game for Ole Miss. Other game I wanted to mention, we've been in, myself included, has been really just starting to hype up Bradley in the Missouri Valley. How about Dusty's lock pick? UIC. What were they, an 11-point underdog or something like that?
Yeah, and no doubt about Robbie.
They win it outright, 93-70. Bradley, one of the best three-point shooting teams in the country, couldn't buy a bucket against the Flames. So Bradley, that's a loss that
one may say.
What'd you say?
A flaming pick, one may say.
Hot. Drake, also a big win against Northern Iowa, so the Missouri Valley is thrown into chaos because you got two teams now at 9-2. UIC's at 7-4, along with Northern Iowa, along with Belmont that lost at Illinois State last night. So the Valley is a fun one. that we wanted to mention as well. Any other games or results or performances that I'm missing from the last few days? Army beat Colgate, so all of a sudden the Patriot League is really up for grabs right now. Furman held on to beat Samford, which was a really good game if you got a chance to see it on CBS Sports Network. Anything else I'm missing from the past few days?
We had a fight in the stands at St. Louis VCU.
Nothing says physical fight like fans in the Atlantic 10. VCU and St. Louis. Yeah.
I think we laughed at. No one came out injured. What made it funny? It lasted so long. The game was delayed.
Took forever.
Minutes.
Yeah.
It was hysterical. Bunch of mostly St. Louis fans, by the way. It looked like a lot of self-inflicted wounds, but shout out the Rams and Billick. It just means more in the A-10, y'all.
It just means more. That's the Josh Schertz mentality right there. Hey, you don't walk into Chaffetz Arena and just think you're going to come in and just get a win. Okay?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, you just don't. So VCU, you get got. By the way, the Billikens got the win, I should mention as well, 78-69. And then I know we mentioned Ace Bailey, but we just need to mention again, he had 37 against Northwestern last night. 37.
He's so good.
13 for 20 from the field, 5 of 8 from 3, 6 rebounds, no assists, no steals. That's what I'm talking about, Ace.
Our king.
He's but he is up to 0.8 assists per game, so he's bumped up just a touch. Just a touch. His last 3 games, you want to know how many assists he has? Last 3 games total.
1.
Dusty?
2.
0. He doesn't have 1 assist the last 3 games.
Well done.
Our king, Ace Bailey, like you said. Fantastic. All right, well, the big game to focus on for the weekend is the return of John Calipari to Lexington. We will have boots on the ground with Nick and Dusty, but before we talk about the game, we want Rick Pitino to give an impassioned plea to the fans in Lexington, and we want you all to hear it from him as well as John Calipari returns to Lexington.
Hello, Big Blue Nation. I didn't steer you wrong with Mark Pope when I sent out that last video, and I certainly won't steer you wrong with this video. Toughest day of my coaching career at Louisville was when I had to walk into Rupp Arena. Tried not to show it, but when I went home, the reception, it tore me up apart because I love that place so much. And it's interesting because I was speaking to Ed Cooley just recently about Providence, and he said he almost was brought to tears because of the bad feelings he got going back there. But this is different. And as you all know, I'm not best friends with John Calipari. I respect him, certainly. But it was a mutual thing. The fans wanted a change. John read the tea leaves. He needed a change. And he really didn't want to leave. But what did he do for you? He brought the best talent in the history of the game of any university in America to Lexington. He also won a national championship. He also his style of play was extremely entertaining. So he's coming back on Saturday, and I want all of you to show the great class that you have. 23,000 plus people giving him a huge standing ovation. Show him what respect and admiration's all about. I know you have the class. I've always believed in you. Do it once again.
So, Dusty and Nick, I turn this over to you. Will Big Blue Nation give John Calipari a standing ovation on Saturday at Rupp Arena?
They should.
Will they?
I would hope so. If they don't, I'll feel less about the fan base. I'll put it that way. I talked to this podcast about how I feel about Calipari. He did a lot for this school, and I mean, should have had probably 2 or 3 national titles. So I would hope that people would be respectful of what he had done here, and we had a lot of missed opportunities. So Nick, I'll let you go off that, but that's my thoughts.
So this is a loaded question. Okay, I know we're trying to keep it short. I'm not going to go too long here. Okay, but I just want to give a full context from out there. This would make this so hard. Okay, I love John Calipari. Okay, he's the first Kentucky coach I knew, and before him, like the first Kentucky I knew was Billy Gillespie when Dusty was there. It It was not good. Okay, so he brought Kentucky basketball back to what it was. First 6 years, 4 Final Fours, and a natty. It was amazing. It was so much fun. And there's like a us versus the world mentality, right? Because we're the cheaters. Cal's a cheater. Blah blah blah. We bring the one and dones, whatever. Next 5 years wasn't quite as good. Whatever. 2 Elite Eights, almost made a couple Final Fours, won a bunch of SEC tournaments, whatever. Then we get to the last 4 years, right? This is where it gets interesting. 1 tournament win the last 4 years, including a 9-16 season. Some very notable upsets, if people don't remember. St. Peter's and Oakland. But again, they were never, ever in danger of missing a tournament, right? 2 seed, 6 seed, 3 seed each of the last 3 years, okay? So I say all that to really set up how, complicated this is, right? Because he didn't leave like Pitino, right? He leaves for the NBA and come back to go to Louisville, right? So there's not, hatred there, I don't think. I know a lot of people are rooting against him, and I kind of am too, again, is an ex-girlfriend in the SEC. It's kind of hard. It's a tough situation. So the question of whether the boo or not, because it's how do you do it, right? Because to me, the easy answer is you do some sort of tribute to start the game, whether warm-ups, whatever, thank you for memories, Cal, and we all go nuts and cheer and say thank you. And then when he's announced in starting lineups, you boo him because he's the Arkansas coach at that point.
Yeah.
So, but the question is, if there's no sort of tribute or any video or anything, so when they announce Arkansas coach John Calipari, it's just weird to go nuts. Because I agree with Dusty. He should be cheered. What he did at Kentucky was those 15 years, yes, was there some heartbreaks, whatever? Sure. Could have been better? Yes. But it was still overall an overwhelming success. And I love him forever for that. But it's just, again, he still left for an SEC arch rival. And to me, it was pretty mutual to leave. So I would like to cheer. But again, if they only address him as Arkansas coach, John Calipari, I'm not going to boo, but I can see why people would boo. It's a very tricky situation to me.
I understand fans that would boo. I will say that, but I will not. Nick's going to the game. I'm not going to the game. I'm going to be at a bar in Lexington. I would not boo. To me, it'd be a thank you to come back and whatnot. But I can understand why certain fans would boo, especially like Nick said, him going to Arkansas.
Is there going to be a tribute video? Do we know how they're going to handle him returning?
I haven't heard anything.
Okay.
Yeah, I texted a guy today. I'm going to sound like a look at me Louie. Texted the guy today, is there anything going on this weekend of Cal being back in town? And he said, not as of right now, but I'll let you know by tomorrow. Is that I don't. It's not necessarily. It's not. I wouldn't say it's not classy, but it's just. It's you have to have. I think the mindset as well of it is just another game, but also you have the coach that brought you a national championship, took you to multiple Final Fours. He's back in a different uniform or in a different school. Yes, it's another SEC school, but I think there has to be some element of taking the high road here in this moment for Kentucky. And the Kentucky fan base is one of the best fan bases in college sports. There is no question about it. But I just think with how much vitriol we have in our society and how you're either with us or you're against us, I'm not optimistic of the reception that Cal is going to get on Saturday.
Right.
Go ahead. Yeah, I'm not. I think it's. I hope he gets cheered. I don't think he will. I guess that's my final answer.
I think what I'm thinking is he's going to be cheered by some, but the boos are going to drown out the cheers.
Right. And again, I just wonder, okay, when he first went out of the tunnel, when they first come out, maybe it'd be so hard because you're also kind of cheering as your Arkansas team comes out. I know that's not really what's going on.
Yeah.
It's just such a weird circumstance we have found ourselves in because I think if this happened 2 months ago, I think there'd be a lot more boos because there's been a lot of discourse on Kentucky Twitter of people trying to say, hey, we should cheer this guy. You played the Pitino clip. Pope's made some comments that we should be celebrating him. So I do think there is more momentum going on.
Yeah.
Of what's going to happen. So really, I say all to say, I really have no idea what to expect Saturday night. I truly don't have the slightest idea of what's going to happen. And I think that's what, again, this is also like I'm very worried about losing this basketball game. Arkansas's not been good all year, and this would be such a Calipari special.
It would.
Again, like how Kentucky won at Auburn last year when they were struggling, or when they went 9-16, they won at Tennessee. Like Cal does this, and gosh, I'm so intrigued by the pregame, and then I'm horrified for the actual game. This is just going to be such a pretzel of a game for me. My brain going on.
I think part of what helps as well, I think, is Arkansas is so bad that he went to a school and that they have been playing so poorly. I think there's going to be also a sense of, I think some people would feel slightly bad for Cal just because he's having such a tough season, but at the same time, it's, again, Arkansas and Kentucky have had some battles in the past. I know they're not necessarily rivals, but I mean, those are two, the Nolan Richardson teams of Arkansas in the 90s, and then when Mike Anderson came around, like those battles with Kentucky, those were some battles, dude. So like those teams, those fan bases, they're not fond of each other. So I think this just adds a little bit more to it. But yeah, I'm who needs reality TV when you have SEC basketball, right? What else do you need? I'll
tell you what I need. I've seen 2 hole-in-ones at the Pebble Beach since we got on this podcast.
Oh.
Just so you.
Okay. Interesting.
Thank you.
Well, the other game that I am excited to be watching will be coming up Friday night. Now I have to be working during the Purdue-IU game, but I'll keep an eye on it. I got to work tomorrow night, unfortunately, but that's okay. I kind of am feeling in the same boat as you guys, where this feels like a game that Purdue should win by 20, but it's also Purdue-IU. Weird stuff happens.
I would agree with that.
But okay, who gets more applause when he walks out onto the arena floor this weekend? Mike Woodson by Purdue fans or John Calipari by Kentucky fans?
Well, that's not fair because Woodson might be 100%.
Great question, Robbie.
Obviously Purdue fans are still going to boo it, but I think there has been a push to try to cheer when Mike Woodson comes out. But also, you don't poke the bear here, okay? It's still a rivalry game, and IU's still going to come out, and they're going to want to win. They have won this game before at Mackey Arena when Jalen Hood-Schifino went bonkers. This is the kind of game that if you don't show up and you don't play physical, you can easily lose. So I don't know if Purdue wants to play the chess, not checkers, and lose, and then Mike Woodson gets a lifetime contract. I don't know what you want to do here, but I'm going to be very fascinated how Purdue handles this game coming up Friday night, because it is the game has become bigger than just a 40-minute game. It is Purdue-IU. It is the rivalry in the state of Indiana, and Purdue is the better program as of right now. Things can obviously change, but there's so much more on the line than just a win over your rival. There's bragging rights. There's, IU trying to become relevant again. Purdue trying to unseat the team that has 5 national championships. So there's all sorts of other parts of this story that I'm excited to enjoy coming up Friday night.
Have they put a line on that game yet?
I've not seen one. That's a great question. Haven't seen one yet, which I'm actually a little surprised by. But it will be, with how well Purdue's playing defensively, I just wonder if IU is just going to throw the ball around the court and turn the ball over 15 times. That's what you kind of wonder, and you're. I'm curious how that's going to go. Any other games?
Rob, real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
Real quick, I didn't feel the parallels between our 2 games. Like again, like 2 arch rivals coming in, who are not having good years, but very talented, both teams. So they you get them on the wrong night. It's pretty 2 horrifying games for us, Robbie. But I think Mackey and Rupp guys, Robbie. I think we're good.
I think so too. And Purdue had that long break after the shellacking they gave Michigan. They've had a full week to prepare for this. I like their chances. Other games on the weekend that stand out, I'm going to bring up one. The Big Ten race is kind of a 2-horse race right now between Purdue and Michigan State. Michigan State, this is the start of their tough run of games that, okay, we'll actually see if they are for real now. They start off, they're at USC coming up on Saturday, and they have to stay out west and continue to play. That West Coast road trip has run some teams into the ground these past few weeks in the Big Ten. So fascinated to see how that one goes. Texas Tech at Houston is another really interesting one. The Red Raiders have been playing great lately. Baylor could desperately use a win at home against Kansas. Man, could they use that. So that's one to keep an eye on. And then Sunday games, I think the Ohio State and Illinois game is a fascinating one. Anything else that stands out on these games coming up this weekend, guys?
First of all, loaded slate Saturday, so enjoy. But the big one to me is Gonzaga at St. Mary's. Can Gonzaga get the big win at St. Mary's, or is this just St. Mary's year in the West Coast Conference?
This feels like Gonzaga starting to turn it on at this time right now. I feel like they do it this time last year too. It felt like kind of around the same time.
At Rupp.
Yeah, it started at Rupp. That's right. So maybe this is the beginning of Gonzaga's resurgence. I don't know. But yeah, St. Mary's again. St. Mary's has a 2-game lead on Gonzaga, so this is one that if St. Mary's wins, you could probably write them off and have them win the West Coast Conference, which would be crazy to think of at the start of the year.
I'll say 2 quick tonight. Memphis at Tulane. They're both 6-1, Tulane 5-2 in the conference, and also Oregon at UCLA tonight.
That's a good one too. That's a game that Memphis. That's a prime Memphis game. I feel like that they would find a way to lose.
Yes, yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Isn't it crazy? We're going to talk about this whole pod and just UNC Duke, which just does not do it for us at all.
Nope.
No, because ESPN's doing enough to talk about them. So
that's enough. I will be honest. I know we've kind of talked about all the other big games, but maybe the biggest game of the weekend is 9:30 p.m. coming up on Saturday night when New Mexico goes to Utah State.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's an FS1 game. Have it on right next to Arkansas and Kentucky. Those are 2 teams, 9-1 in the Mountain West. The winner will take first place in the league. That D. Glenn Smith Spectrum is going to be absolutely bonkers for that game. That is a great home court advantage in college hoops. So if you get a chance to watch that, I highly recommend it. It should be a great game. So that's, and then there's some other games as well. I think that there was like UConn goes to Marquette. Man, Huskies really need to have that one if they want to even have a shot at the Big East. Go for it. What'd you say?
Florida at Tennessee.
Florida at Tennessee. Didn't get a chance to mention that. You're right. Trying to think of anything else.
Texas Tech at Houston.
Yeah, we met. Yeah.
Auburn at Ole Miss. It's a pretty loaded slate.
Yeah, we got some good ones on the horizon. George Mason at Davidson. That's a tough one. Georgia, Alabama, Michigan, Rutgers, Vandy at Oklahoma. We'll see if the Commodores can actually prove that they're for real. I know Oklahoma's been up and down lately. Well, more down than up, but still a chance to kind of prove yourself. So yeah, basically, simply put, find a spot on your couch, sit back, relax, enjoy your college hoops as you can give your full, undivided attention to college basketball from now until March. Because, we will have a bracket in our hands in, less than 45, 50 days?
Yeah, it's our last January pod, boys.
That's right.
We 1 month away next time we pod.
Getting close.
Can I have one final statement?
Please.
Right. Question. What's more impressive, writing 26 books or being the oldest person to ever score a point in college basketball?
26 books, because now everyone's old.
Yeah, I'd go 26. I'd go 26 books as well.
We're going to hear about about this man on Monday.
Now that is what we call a tease, ladies and gentlemen. That is impressive. Nicely done.
I've literally been reading this guy's background in this entire podcast. I'm so excited to talk about him. This guy, it's Forrest Gump in real life. I cannot wait to tell you about him. So there's your teaser for Tuesday or Monday.
Can't wait. Yep, Monday should be a good pod. So, guys, hope you enjoy all the college hoops. Be safe down in Lexington. Should be a lot of fun. And I'll enjoy watching Purdue-IU coming up Friday night. Hopefully enjoying it, but I'll have to watch it off to the side. So, with that said, that's your edition of Check Please for another great college hoops check-in.
Go Boilers. Go Tajay Kelly.
Love it all. We'll see you on Monday for the D1 and Done pod. Until then, you guys enjoy the college hoops.
Dusty, remember it's a 9 p.m. tip. We're going to have to space out our beverages on Saturday. Let's be smart.
Veteran move. Cut it with some water.
Or vodka.
Drink responsibly, kids.